you know when you start a new campaign and you take a look at the campaign map and you think to yourself, one day all this land will be mine. And then you proceed through your campaign taking a massive chunk of land because that's what you need to do to solidify your empire, right? Well, I'm going to challenge that idea today by doing 3 campaigns, each with a different playstyle, and we'll see how well we can do with just the one province, our starting province. So for the first campaign, Azag is indeed here, as I wanted to do a kind of raiding and sacking playstyle, so I went with my favourite boys, the Green Men, playing all these campaigns on very hard by the way. Naturally, to start off with, I took the starting province, and this campaign is helped by the fact that we have a gold mine in our first province, so that's very nice. So the first order of business was to come down and take care of Karak Kadrin. I sent in a hero to try and find their armies. They did have one small force knocking around, but it eventually moved off, which allowed me to attack the first settlement of theirs. I had just been raiding them a little bit there, and so begins our war with Karak Kadrin, who can be a problem if you let them get too big, as they are dwarves, but if we can beat them down early, they shouldn't be too much of an issue. And I fought this battle just to get the best results so we could keep on moving. And aside from the raiding, this is where our big moneymaker opportunity is. We're of course going to sack to start getting in our income that way, because we're not going to get it from taking the settlements. I will then of course come back and raise the place to completely get rid of it, which also helps grow my war that little bit quicker. I discovered the Kadrin army was down in a settlement just to the south. I ignored it for now though and just went on to take out their main settlement, Karak Kadrin. As I approached though, I was declared war on by Astro Knob Iron Bitch, which presented me a serious threat coming in from the east, so I had to be wary of that. I attacked Karak Kadrin, besieged it for a turn, but then decided to just go in for it and fight the battle to get it over with quickly, worried that Astrogoth might come over and attack my one precious province. But we sacked the balls out of that place. We've now got another 6 grand coming in from this. Nice. With the threat of Astrogoth able to underway his way straight into my territory if he wants to, I started to build up a second army back in my province, just to have a little bit of a defense force. I then of course raised Karak Kadrin, but my army was fairly depleted and beaten up from that fight, so I headed home to replenish and regroup. Yeah, Miao Ying on the other side of the world wants some money from me. Yeah, zock off. So Azag returns home to rebuild his army, and I'm actually going to try to get 2 full stacks because I'm nearly at my war, and if I get 2 full stacks, I get 2 full wars with that. However, money is getting pretty damn tight right now, so I've got to be careful and I've got to do some fighting, and soon. This gold mine upgrade could certainly help with that. As I head back down towards Karak Kadrin, I'm met by 2 of their armies, one half full of slayers, which I do not like the look of, so I try to retreat back to get my garrison from my nearby settlement involved, which I eventually am able to do, and I'm going to get a Pyrrhic Victory auto-resolve. I'm not sure I could beat that if I fought that with those juiced-up slayers. I tried to get rid of Ungrim, but he's just too much of a beefcake, so I'm going to let him go for now and replenish myself. I continue with my plan though. I build 2 full stacks, I bring in the war, and that's going to give me 2 full war armies. I need to act fast though, as money is really on the limited side. I've got about 3 turns maybe before I'm totally out of cash, then I'm done. So I head south to begin the final destruction of Karak Kadrin. I do a little bit of raiding on the way, because, that's going to buy me a turn or 2 until I can get some real money. I then end up in a weird mash with a whole bunch of armies, although I do realize that one of my wars has 2 Arachnarok spiders, which is nice. Those seem to be rare these days. So I take the auto-resolve, get the victory, wipe out all those Karak Kadrin armies, take out this goddamn settlement again, sack it of course though, nice bit of money to be made there too. I should also mention with Azag's skill points, I've been putting them into increasing the raiding and the sacking income, so that's really helping out with this playstyle. I've also got a big boss who can do the same, increase post-battle income, so it's going to become easier to make money from this as I progress. But I raise up that settlement. I'm now ready to take out the last Ungrim settlement. I've got my main settlement back in my province up to tier 4, so that's coming along nicely. I also start to scout Astro Knob's territory, as this is where I intend to go next, as those Chaos Dwarf settlements are worth the big sacking bucks. Anyway, I finish off the final Ungrim settlement, raise that to the ground, and that should put him on his last legs. His army is going to run out of juice soon. But upon some diplomacy with a nearby Orc faction that seems to be doing well for itself, I notice, oh scheisse. Did I just see what I thought I saw? Ungrim's army, which I thought was done for, isn't taking attrition, which means he's got another goddamn settlement somewhere, and there it is just a bit farther down south. So I've got to go finish that off, otherwise he's just going to come back on me. So a bit of a pain in the ass. I've got to chase him down. Long story short, I'm going to do that. I'm going to besiege him. I'm going to wear him down. I'm going to take him out, sack his settlement for a nice bit of monies. Then, of course, raise it up and finally finish off goddamn Karak Kadrin. They're done for. Faction destroyed. Happy days. So up to this point, only having one province, it's been okay. We've made our money mostly from sacking, but a little bit of raiding as well. We did have the one close call where Ungrim came up with the 2 armies. If I didn't have that second army built there, we might have been in some serious trouble. And we did come a few turns away from running out of money, but it's been okay. We shall press on. While my main army was making its way back up north, I sent my second army into Chaos Dwarf territory to see if we could maybe get a little cheeky sack and raise somewhere, because we do have that full War stack with us. But I quickly ended up with 2 Chaos Dwarf armies bearing down on me, so I decided to retreat for now and wait for the Azag army. Astrogoth himself decided to push around and try to get after me, though at one point. His army wasn't terribly terrifying, but it wasn't a pushover either. I thought about fighting it, but I decided I didn't want my War to get too beaten up before we went into their main territory, so I fell back and tried to get an ambush instead, which I was lucky enough to be able to get, which meant I should be able to get some better results from this battle. I did fight it, it went okay, didn't lose too much in the process. Cool. So I beat the boy up, sent him packing, went back home, replenished, and then re-entered the Chaos Dwarf territory again to try my luck this second time. But alas, the same thing again. A bunch of armies just appear all over the place. There's nowhere really good for me to attack. And naturally, I did end up having to fight a couple of them. I did win, I did push them back, but we were severely beaten up. I thought maybe I'd have enough to take down one settlement, but no dice. There was no gaps. They were always in the settlements, which made the garrisons a little bit too big with the armies there as well. But my big main army was now arriving back up north, ready to join in the fun, so things were about to get spicy. And spicy they did get as Astrogoth started chasing around my beaten up army with a full stack and a bit, so I had to just retreat and ended up in a bit of a Benny Hill situation. But this actually did me a big favor as it cleared that Astrogoth army away from the settlements, which allowed my main Azag army to come in and get some work done. And work we did. I fought some of these battles to get better results so that I could keep on rolling and keep on sacking. Although this first place I could have sacked it for 14 grand, but given that time was probably short because Astrogoth might be on his way back, I decided to just raise it and head on to the next place. This was going to be a little tougher as it was a siege settlement, but I fought it. The army garrison wasn't too big or dangerous, and when it came to sacking or raising this place, well, I couldn't turn down 24 grand. Steadily, it was looking like the end for Astrogoth as this big greenskins army that I've been getting friendly with also rolled into town. They were at war with them. I started sacking their remaining settlements in the area, although there was a couple up north which I ignored. But with a tidy little 12 grand here, a tasty little 21 grand there, I felt pretty good about my current position. With 90 grand in the bank, although not a lot of income per turn, but who cares when you got 90 grand in the bank? I could have called it here with this campaign and said, I'm in a pretty good position, I could finish this campaign as I have been with the one single province. But I decided there's one more move I want to make before I finish this out. Sack Zarnagrund. And by the time I got over there, it looked like Grimgor had the same idea, but luckily I did manage to just about get there first. And how much could I sack it for? Oh, just a little 90 grand. So safe to say, the raiding and sacking playstyle is profitable enough to survive if you only have the one province. I'm going to stop this playthrough here at 142 grand in the bank, a little bit of income, got a war ready. I could finish this campaign no problem, I think, with my one province. For the next campaign, I wanted to take more of a merchant trader route, playing total diplomacy rather than total war. So Cathay seemed like a good option for this, so once again we will try with just one province to see if we can get on our way to winning the campaign. The first order of business is taking out the dissenters of Jinshin to the north, or whatever they're called. And of course, as Cathay, I'm going to get my caravans on the move for income as well. I'm going to position myself between two of these enemy settlements, forcing them to pick one to defend, and I'll just attack whichever one they're not at. And I'm mostly just going to raise these places as I come across them. I'm not going to sack too much because that's not how I'm trying to play. And also, you don't really get that much money anyway. But these little dissenter bitches have attacked my caravan and have taken it out, so I've lost that already. But I'm going to go back, replenish, and then come back on them with a mighty vengeance as I go and attack Shangyang, which doesn't offer me the best results in auto-resolve, so I'm going to besiege them. But lucky for me, they decided to sally out and fight us, which actually gives me a close victory. So that's a nice easy way to get rid of that bunch of peasants. And of course, we're going to raise them up to get rid of that settlement as well. I think they've only got one or two more to the north. In the meantime, I've been trying to get trade agreements with my local Cathayans, as well as setting off another caravan. So going all in on the good old merchant life. Making my way north, I find the last dissenter settlement. I'm able to get a Pyrrhic victory from the big army and garrison that they have there. It is quite a costly battle. I lose a few units, but it sets me up to take their final settlement regardless and finish them off. I could get a nice little bit of money from sacking this place, 3 grand, but I'm not going to. Like I say, I'm not trying to play that way, so I'm going to leave it and I'm just going to raise instead. That gives us the first objective of this campaign done, but for one of the other objectives, taking the certain provinces, I have to control the Ivory Road, but of course I can't take it myself this run, so I need to make friends with whoever does control it. In this case, it's Greasus. And for the Warpstone Desert province, well, Miao Ying should take this, so that one should be a bit easier to get. So I start playing Total Diplomacy and I go in to start trying to make friends with Greasus, and just about any other nice faction around. I notice that there's these other ogres, but they're at war with Greasus, so if I get a non-aggression with them, it's going to piss off Greasus, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to get a non-aggression, and I could even get trade here with Greasus, and that's going to set me up a nice start to our relationship, so we can work towards a military alliance with Greasus, and we can control that territory without actually controlling that territory. And now that our work is done in the north, I'm going to head back home, replenish, regroup, recruit new boys, and also hoping that Miao Ying takes all the settlements I just raised. But oh scheisse, my caravan's under attack again, this time by ogres. It's an ambush. I feel like I can maybe win this though if I fight it. I don't trust the auto-resolve with an ambush. I've got some pretty good units in this army, some halberds, some missiles, great for taking down those ogres. And I was able to get rid of them, so that my caravan could carry on and end up in this situation, where I need to sacrifice some cargo to get some relationship with Greasus. So again, Total Diplomacy, I need to make friends with Greasus. This is a great way to do it. For my next move, I think about heading down south, so I send a spy to have a little look around, see what's going on, see what Helmand Gorst is up to. Apparently he's not doing too well and Kugath is on his doorstep, and that's fine with me. Shortly after this though, Captain Chunkboy declares war on me. So I've got a little bit of a threat potentially coming from my south, but I'm not hugely worried. I feel like it's rare you see Kugath come over this far, but we'll see. It's just one war though, no big deal, right? Right? Balls! So now with the imminent threat of rats coming from my north and east, there goes my plans to go down south, so I'm going to head back up north and prepare for the incoming rat invasion. I do manage to finally get a defensive alliance with Greasus at this point, so we're making good friends with him. That could come to help us in our war with Kugath. But there be rats, and there be lots of rats, although their armies aren't really anything to worry about, mostly Skaven slaves. And we can also note here, turn 36, I've got a pretty healthy income and a nice bit of money in the bank. On investigation, I find that Clan Eshin has 11 settlements, so they could be very tough to deal with, especially as they often have lots of armies, and I've only got 1 province. And what do you know, lots of armies start descending on me, one of them comes at me, it's pretty crappy though, it's a decisive victory, no problem, there's one of them wiped out already. That was one trying to attack one of my settlements. I take the fight to Clan Eshin though, as they seem to have infested all those settlements I raised earlier, so I'm going to come back and raise them all again, bring down their settlement count and weaken those goddamn rats. I also managed to get that military alliance with Greasus, so now that piece of territory that I needed to control through him is sorted. He's also just doing pretty well for himself. He's a powerful ally to have. He's got some armies here. He's probably keeping Helmand Gorst and Kugath in check, which is really saving me a job. Over time, the rats keep coming at me here and there with their crappy armies, not too much of a problem. I move my main army up to start heading north again, and I find Miao Ying is down here now. There is one army, but she's going to start taking care of them in the north, and that's going to help us out a lot. But the rats are always pushing, always taking territory. However, their armies have started to kind of all wander into roughly the same place, and that could be a good opportunity. I take Xiaoming and push into their territory a little bit, taking out another one of their settlements here. We've also been getting friendly with Miao Ying this whole time. We're into a defensive alliance now. You can see she's taken a lot of territory. She's starting to push down south now. There's 2 of her armies there. The Cathayan people finally coming together. And the rats also coming together in this nice little move that puts about 4 of their armies all pretty close to each other. And that spells a good opportunity. And Miao Ying sees it as she goes in and takes out 2 of those armies. I then get attacked by the other ones, which includes Deathmaster Snitch himself, in an ambush. And you know I gotta fight this to try and save myself. And let me tell you, this was one of the most horrible battles I think I've ever fought in Total War Warhammer 3. It was disgusting. There was a big, massive army ambushing me, then there was a couple of reinforcement armies. Their missiles hit like they were thunderers, their Skaven slaves were unbreakable, basically. Deathmaster Snitch had ridiculous stats, like 80 melee defense. I couldn't hit the bastard. I've never cried before when playing Total War, but I think this was the closest I've ever come. Eventually, though, I was able to get the W, and me and Miao Ying were able to bin off 4 Clan Eshin armies. Very nice. And this battle here, I could have auto-resolved it for an easy, decisive victory, but it would have cost me one of my Jade Warriors, and I couldn't do them like that. They just fought their ass off in the previous battle. There's no way I could let them go out like that, so I had to fight this battle just to make sure that that unit didn't die, and then we could be mostly free of the Clan Eshin tyranny that was all around us. Then we could push on their remaining settlements and get rid of that damn Deathmaster bitch. After this battle, my Cathayan brothers started to take some of their territory back, pushing Clan Eshin back into the hills from whence they came, which kind of bundled them up nicely, nice and easy to deal with now as we push through and take their final settlements. Shouldn't be any problem to deal with now. And with that, I decided to call an end to this campaign, as I felt like I pretty much proved the point that we can survive with one province with this trader merchant playstyle. It's nicely upgraded. I'm on my way to tier 5 with the main settlement. We don't have much income per turn, but we do have 2 full armies, and we've got plenty of money in the bank from all the caravans. Bit of trading going on as well, of course. And we can finish this campaign with the one province, I think. All we got to do here is take out Clan Eshin. We got to take out what's-his-face back here as well, Lock here. And then Bob's your teapot, we're pretty much done with this campaign. And you can see Miao Ying's got a lot of territory. The other Cathayan factions are doing pretty well for themselves. And you'll see as we come into diplomacy and start looking through the Cathay factions, we can actually get confederation with this faction right here. There's 2 provinces. We could quickly take off them, all while having only 1 province ourselves. And if we look at Miao Ying, she's nearly there, only -6. So with a bit of money, we could probably get her on board, or just wait a few more turns and she'd probably be on board. So we can now control potentially half of Cathay, all by only having 1 province on like turn 50 something. Why bother taking all the settlements yourself when you can just take them off somebody else? So Cathay with just 1 province playing to their strength in the trader merchant kind of role works pretty damn well. On to the final campaign then with...
King of Bretonia.
That's right, the King of Bretonia, Luen Leoncoeur. Now what I wanted to do with this campaign was to play it kind of out of its comfort zone, not playing to its strength like I did with the other 2 campaigns. So I'm kind of going to play a sacking and raiding playstyle, but I'm not going to sack and raid. I'm mostly going to raise because I lose chivalry doing those other 2 things, whereas if I raise, I actually gain chivalry if it's a bad guy. And with that, I'm coming after Mouzillon first of all, because they are one of my enemies that I need to take out for victory conditions. I do roll into this battle, but I realize I don't trust my leadership against all these spooky zombies, so I fall back for now to recruit a bigger army. But while I do that, some greenskins roll up on one of my settlements, so I have to run back there to sort them out first, lest I lose my 1 province before I've even got started. But that's fine, I need to recruit some more units anyway. So I sort out those damn dirty greenskins and then begin to replenish my army, recruit some more boys, and build up a nice force to go and take out Mouzillon post-haste. While I'm doing that though, I get declared war on by goddamn Bellicor and the Shadow Legion to the north on Albion, so there's a threat I'm going to have to worry about. For now though, I must press on and take out Mouzillon, so I head back down south, and then the old Red Duke comes along and says, "Oh no, please don't kill me, please take the peace." So naturally, I follow the teachings of Sun Tzu, and I pimp slap him and call him a bitch and tell him I'm coming for him. And thankfully, there's no army there defending this time, so I'm able to get into a one-on-one fight with just the settlement garrison. So I'm going to have to fight it, but this is no big deal. I use my cavalry advantage and mobility to take the victory objective. Then I raise it up and start heading back north, but there's some Vanna Heimlings on my doorstep. I recruit a lord and try to get some units to defend there just in case it does attack in the next turn or 2. Grom then decides he wants to declare war on me, so that's good. Things are looking great in this campaign. And it only gets better as the Vanna Heimlings come after my goddamn settlement. Pretty much no chance of defending this when half your army is peasant mob. And as if things couldn't get any more fun, Mouzillon just came and retook their settlement with a full stack, and I've lost my settlement. So fantastic so far. It's like I never even took out Mouzillon, and I basically haven't done anything so far in about 12 turns. But I am going to retake L'Anguille and get my province back and deal with these dirty Norscan bastards. However, they disappear for a few turns, but then reappear on my shores with a bunch of other buddies. But this time, Luens are ready, and we take the fight to them this time, taking out their couple of armies that are waiting for us, clear them away with a close victory, and finally get a little bit of breathing room. Or so I thought until the Shadow Legion appeared in the distance in the ocean, but this time I had a garrison building in L'Anguille, so I let that defend and sent Luen down south, where I ran into the goddamn Red Duke again and had to fight his full stack off lest he take out mine. But we beat him up anyway, took care of that army, didn't lose too much ourselves in the process. In the meantime, the Shadow Legion were on our shores this time, but I had 1 turn to wait until I had that garrison building finished, so I decided to recruit a small army, just so history didn't repeat itself. And I pressed on, trying to get rid of goddamn Mouzillon. This time around, I was able to get a decisive victory, lost 1 unit, no big deal. Finally, getting rid of Mouzillon, wiping them out, raising this up, taking care of their last army. Finally, it was done. Persistence has prevailed. One good thing around this time is that I was building a relationship with Karl Franz, who is a good man to have on your side. Eventually that Shadow Legion army backed off, but came back with an extra stack, so things were looking great. Although those 2 armies actually disappeared on the next turn. I have no idea where they went, but they didn't bother me. However, then there was a Vanna Heimling stack on my shores, so I said, "Fuck this, I'm going to get you little bastards and take your place out." So I sailed Luen over there with a big old army and prepared to take it to Albion because Luen had had enough. That army did indeed come after me, but luckily we were able to get a Pyrrhic victory from this and get rid of them. That army was no problem. Luen then arrived on the shores of Albion to make sure the Vanaheimlings felt the full force of his fury. He came, he saw, he raised, defended against the Shadow Legion army back home, sacked this time because 5 grand, and then raised again. And with that, the residents of Albion were destroyed. The Vanaheimlings were gone. I'd taken down the Shadow Legion. I was free of their relentless assault of armies. Grom also decided to come over with a 3-unit army, which apparently I couldn't beat. So I had to fight this battle, but no big deal. I dealt with that. I now didn't have any pressure from Musalon, from the Shadow Legion, the Vanaheimlings. So I decided to try and take Luen on a bit of a tear with the raising playstyle, just going and raising all the bad guys' stuff. So I headed towards the Sea of Claws, which is between Norska and the Empire, as there's some nice Norscan port settlements I could go for there. However, attacking ports proved quite difficult as I couldn't just sail up onto the land next to the settlement and attack it all in one turn. I had to land somewhere near it and then run to it, which was going to take me an extra turn and cost me some attrition. But I went for it, leaned into it, went to war with Wulfric. I could have sacked this for a nice 8 grand, but we lose chivalry. We want the chivalry because that's how we win this campaign, with chivalry rather than money. I then carried on down the coast to try and get to their next settlement, but there was a full stack waiting. They came at me. I felt like my army wasn't really there. I was still missing my frontline infantry, which I lost when fighting Albion. I should have recruited some more units before I came over here, but I kind of rushed into it. But anyway, I fell back, recruited a few more units. That Norscan army came after me though, and I could get them with a close victory, so I'd still be in pretty good condition, so I decided to do it, get this army out the way, replenish up as we move back over towards their settlements, and then try to take them again. Oh, and I also discovered that the Shadow Legion weren't dead, so that was great. And they've even moved into Musalon's old gaff. As Luen would say, merde. Now when I came over to try and take the next Norscan settlement, I noticed in the settlement over there was a full stack, and I kinda saw where this was going. On the next turn, that full stack went into the settlement I wanted to take, and thus I was getting nowhere. So I gave up on this plan and thought, screw this, let's get the hell out of Norska, it's too cold, let's go back to the old Frenchy lands. After I spent some time back home chilling out and upgrading my building so that I could finally get a decent front line in Battle Pilgrims, I decided, well, there's plenty of bad guys around where I start, so I should just go and take them out before anything. I've got Grom to deal with, there's Heinrich Kemmler around here, let's take these bastards out. And I should note at this point, I haven't really had any trouble with money in this campaign, only having the 1 province. I haven't really had a lot of money, but I've had enough to survive. I've got rid of my second army now, and I'm going to start pushing on Heinrich Kemmler. I'm not at war with him at the moment. I want to launch a surprise attack on his main settlement, as it's got all his big tier 4 buildings, so if I can get rid of those, it's going to weaken him as a faction significantly. He won't be able to recruit any of the good stuff he can get from these. That's our target. As I approach, Heinrich grows wary of me as he ends our non-aggression pact, which is fine with me, because on the next few turns, it's time to get after it. We're going to declare the war, take out this settlement. He did have 2 stacks to the north of this settlement, so we do have that to worry about, and I've got to be careful and cautious of that. My 2 settlements in my 1 province do have big garrisons with the garrison buildings, so they're pretty safe at the moment. And I am going to fight this battle. I managed to take the victory point. It's an easy victory, didn't lose too much at all. And it's going to be a fine raising for this place, although we could sack it for a very nice 22 grand, but that's not what old Luen's about. And this is pretty much the beginning of the end for Heinrich Kemmler as I take out his main settlement here. I then go on to take Castle Artois. There's another big money sack to be had from this place, about 20 grand. And this is all from Luen, who doesn't even have any stat points or skill points that buff up the amount of money you get from post-battle stuff or sacking like Azag did, for example. I forgot to mention, though, that Heinrich Kemmler did do one useful thing for us, and that is that he took out the Shadow Legion, so we never actually had to worry about them. And I came to try and take Musalon there, but it's a bit too much, so I leave for now. I go into ambush stance in the hope that I might catch him, but instead he just forgets that I'm there and off he goes and leaves the settlement undefended. That works for me. As long as I can take the settlement out, I'm happy. So we're slowly destroying Heinrich Kemmler here, getting all this chivalry for raising all these bad guy places as well. And it's kind of weirdly working out, even though we're playing Bretonnia in a way that they're not really meant to be played. You want to take land and build farms with Bretonnia. But we've just got the 1 province, we've been running around raising people up, and it's working for us. We're about a third of the way there on our chivalry. We've got Heinrich Kemmler on his last legs. And with a little bit of help from Karl Franz, who took out the big Heinrich Kemmler army for us, we're now able to push on their last settlement and get a decisive victory to finish them off. And with that, I think we're about done with this campaign. And like I said, our chivalry is about a third of the way there, so that's not too bad considering how this campaign has gone. And if you look at how we're doing here at turn 77, it's not too shabby. We got a nice little bit of income, we got 18 grand in the bank, we're on our way to a tier 5 settlement. And this maybe isn't great for turn 77, but that's because we went off messing around in Norska for a bit. What I should have done is just stayed back here and taken out all these enemies around me before anything else. But it just goes to show, even when you play a campaign the kind of wrong way, and you don't play it very well, and you only have one province, you can still prevail. I think the real benefit of playing with just one province is that you don't have much land to worry about defending. It's pretty easy to defend because it's just one small space. Playing this way is going to make me think twice anyway about how much land I really need to take in a campaign. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the patrons who support this channel. And hey, you know what CP is? No, not that kind of CP, the Total War CP. Have a look. I will see you in the future.